Business and Financial Raw Talk, a no-holds-barred forum for leaders and innovators with award-winning business strategist and financial analyst, Lawana Bradford with the Bradford Group. With Raw Talk, we are empowering women to rise and succeed in business and finances, and improve the world for the next generation. Get ready to get raw and real. Live each Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern on e360tv.com.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of Business and Financial Raw Talk. I'm Lawana Bradford here, your host. I love all things business and finances. To those of you who are joining us for the very first time, welcome to our E360 TV community. And if you're joining us on Facebook and LinkedIn, welcome. One thing that we do within Business and Financial Raw Talk is really to push the envelope, challenge the mindsets as it relates to business and finances, particularly women in finances. And this is Financial Literacy Month. And today we're going to be talking about equity, but not equity from the standpoint when you're thinking about dividends, stocks, returns, or equity when it even comes to an equity position as far as the available opportunities to your diverse groups. We're not even going to be talking about brand equity, even though we know there is a value there, because when you have solid brand equity, then you can influence and inspire clients to lean in order to create more sustainability and growth for yourself. But this time I have a very special guest, and we are going to talk about leveraging your professional equity. Now, some of you may be scratching your heads wondering, what does that really mean? Well, don't worry. We're going to unpackage this, do a deep dive so that you can understand whether you are in business for yourself or you're in corporate America, or perhaps you are like me and my guests, dualpreneurs, how you can leverage, and I believe it's the artistry of professional equity in order to build a bridge to obtain your goals and your successes. I am going to bring Dr. Karen Hills Pruden on in a moment. And as I mentioned, she's not only a dualpreneur, she's an HR C-suite executive. She is also the CEO of Pruden Global Business Solution Consulting, which is the home to Sisters Leader Community and Academy. And this community is designed to empower women in such a way that they can build the bridge to the future that they want to achieve. But in order to do that, we have to identify our identity, right? So this is where, again, this leveraging your professional equity is going to come into play. She helps women to get over the barriers, including the mindsets, the limitations that we have placed on ourselves in order to break free and to communicate their successes in a way that translates the power, the influence, and the impact that they have in leading people and leading change and leveraging technology and applying analytics. So without further ado, I am going to do a quick breakaway, and then the next person you'll see next to me will be Dr. Karen Hills Pruden. Hello, Dr. Karen. Welcome to Business and Financial Raw Talk. How's it going?
It's wonderful. Thank you for having me. This is exciting.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you've been traveling. I'm following you on Facebook. I think you have an upcoming trip coming. So people are leaning into your voice and your message, and that's pretty exciting.
Yes, it is. I think there's a need for the information that I have.
I totally agree. before we get into what you mean by professional equity, I know I've heard a little bit about your story when you've presented on other platforms, and you shared how, as you were matriculating, if you will, through your professional journey, you got to a place where you felt a little stagnated, and you were looking at how can I reach that next level, but you didn't know what you didn't know, and you took a bold move, and you made a decision that not only changed and transformed your life, but now you're able to use that lived experience and change and transform thousands of lives around the world. Can you tell us a little bit about that story?
Yes, absolutely. So, about when I hit a decade in middle management, I decided that I wanted to be in senior leadership. And all those around me that I knew of were all men. So there were no women that I knew of that was in the C-suite or in senior leadership. I thought that I needed mentoring, someone who maybe had walked the walk can tell me those things to focus on. Otherwise, you're kind of just like shooting in the dark if you're trying to do it on your own. And so I did something that was kind of non-traditional at the time, unheard of, because about 15 years ago, LinkedIn was still kind of fairly new. It didn't have the 900 million people that it has now. People were up there, but they were not quite sure how to use it. And so what I did was I was on LinkedIn and I did some research. And I researched two female senior leaders who looked like me, meaning they were African American women and they were in senior leadership and had been in senior leadership for at least a decade, because I had decided that once I got in leadership that I wanted to sustain myself. So I didn't want to be like a bleep on the radar and be only a couple of years, now you see her, now you don't type thing. And so I found two and I sent them a direct message on LinkedIn along with a copy of my resume and asked them to be my mentor, the two individuals. My number one choice let me wait about 2 weeks, let me sweat it out for about 2 weeks. And then she finally popped up on my direct mail on LinkedIn and she said, sure, I'll be your mentor for $350 an hour. Now, if I lost $350 right now, I will be looking for it. And so back then, 15 years ago, $350 was a lot of money. And so what do you do though when you want to get somewhere and you know someone has walked that path and you want their assistance? Because she didn't know me from Adam. I was just a direct message on LinkedIn. And so there was an expectation from me that I would have to pay something. I accepted. I signed a contract with her for 1 year, but it was for 1 hour a month. That was all I could afford. So for 1 hour a month for 1 year, she poured into me. She helped elevate the leadership competencies that I already had. She helped me cultivate my love for numbers, which I've always had a love for numbers, but she helped me learn how to articulate my value, because I do work in human resources, which is not a revenue generating department. And so it was critical that I learned how to articulate my value, since I didn't bring money supposedly into the organization. And so after working with her for 1 year, I got a phone call, because senior leadership positions aren't generally advertised. Usually someone reach out to you and ask you if you're interested. And I was invited to apply for a C-suite position. I thought I was ready. She thought I was ready. I accepted the invitation. And after a 4-month process, I was promoted to the C-suite, and I have been in the senior leadership since then. And so that is what I did to get that information that I so desired to get to the next level.
I love that story. it can be unpackaged in so many ways, but I just want to sit into something that you said. So your first mind was, okay, I know what I want, right? But I don't know how I'm going to get there. So let me find someone who's been there and done that. You found the individuals, you reached out, and then the one person who was your first choice said, well, sure, but it's going to cost you. Ladies, for those of you that are listening that want something bigger and better for yourself, there is always a cost, whether it's your time, whether it's your money, some other resource, there is a cost, an investment in you. So I kind of like to say, let's not look at a cost, you're investing in yourself. And if you value and love yourself enough that you're willing to invest in yourself, there's ultimately going to be a return. And just as you said, Dr. Karen, fast forward down your mentorship lane, you received an offer to enter into the C-suite, and you've been there ever since. And, I really want to applaud you and to the other very few Black and brown sisters that are out there representing C-suites. Our numbers are so minuscule, it's a tragedy out there. And when we talk about pay equity, and we know we look at the bigger picture, right? Oh, it's the 80 cents on the dollar, but African-American women, it's 69 cents on the dollar. The average African-American woman is making less than $50,000 a year. And what I love about what you're doing is not only are you taking your learned successes, but then you're translating and you're teaching other women how to fish for themselves. So again, thank you so very much for all that you do and are continuing to do. And that brings us on to, if you can, define what you mean by professional equity.
Absolutely. So most of us have heard of the term called equity, and usually it is associated with something that appreciates and value. And so professional equity is very similar. It is 3 modules: your reputation, your relationship, and your area of expertise. And those 3 areas and how you use those 3 areas throughout your career will determine when and how much power you have to tap into later when needed. For instance, equity, when you acquire equity within things that appreciate, you generally tap into those things when needed, that equity needed. So professional equity is the use of your reputation. And what do I mean by your reputation? Well, your reputation is not your title. Your reputation is the results that you have generated in the marketplace, whether it is corporate or whether you're an entrepreneur working for yourself. What do people say about you? What is it that they know that you do and do very well, that when your name comes on the table, that you're the first person that they think of? And so your reputation is something that people can count on. People go to first soon as they hear your name or when you walk into a room. That is one element of professional equity, because your reputation is what can save you during lean times when there is trouble within your particular area that you specialize in. And we'll move on to expertise as well, because they know that you can add value to the situation that is at hand at that moment based on which is the second leg, your area of expertise. A generalist is good to have because you understand how everything works together, but a specialist gets hired and saves the day, because you have to have a particular area that people can know that they can count on you for, again, generating those desired results that either your employer or your business heavily rely on. And so everyone should have a specialty. And if you don't have a specialty, maybe you should determine what it is that you're good at, and not necessarily good, but great at. And do you produce the results that are desired for one in that particular specialty? So everyone should have a specialty. So the second leg is expertise, which is a specialty. Now, relationships, which is the third part of professional equity, is very tricky because not a lot of people like to branch out to all of the areas of relationship that you need to branch out. And what do I mean by that? You have to have a relationship with individuals that you manage, individuals that you don't manage, your peers on your level, your senior leaders that are higher than you, the volunteers, your creditors. You have to have stakeholders to your success. Your relationships should be up and down the chain, and you also need to cultivate relationships outside of the brick and mortar walls sometimes that you operate in. And so relationships, reputation, and area expertise are the three elements of professional equity, and those together you will be able to tap into later on as needed in your career.
I love that. And if you look at this is like the three-legged stool, right? I mean, in order for it to stand, you need all three. And I love what you said. You gave a word of encouragement that if you are a generalist and you're out there thinking, well, I don't really have something that I could say I'm an expert in, or I have a specialty, lean into what you're good at, or as you said, what you're great at, and then hone those. And that's the one thing with an expert. That individual is always in an ever learning environment, surrounding themselves with like minds so that they can continue to expand. I mean, you don't just say, okay, I know this and I don't need to learn anymore. I mean, Warren Buffett is a brilliant financial expert, but he is very tuned into everything that's happening in the marketplace today. And the one thing that you said that's so important, talked about reputation, that it's not your title. And we often hear the term, your reputation precedes you. And I know that when I was brought on by Deloitte to come on to lead their strategy team, it was that reputation. That's how I got the call. Someone had told someone about me and they needed someone to finish that leg of the project. And I was like, well, how did you find out about me? And it's amazing, the dots. It took me like 3 generations down to realize, oh, okay, now I know that person. So you find out, especially, among your C-suite leaders, they're asking, whether it's your top recruiters or they're asking each other, who do you know, right?
Absolutely. And many times companies know exactly who they want by who they know. They just go through the process that is needed to show as if they are going through the structured process. And what I mean by that is, a lot of times when you walk in the door and you're in leadership, they already know. They know what you're good at. They know the companies you work for. They know they've done a SWOT analysis among the team to determine what your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities are, your threat, because they need to determine whether or not that you're complementary to other C-suite leaders on the team. And so the interview is a formality because they've already done your research. By the time you get in senior leadership, and even when they hire consultants to come in and work with senior leadership, they research you. They know you, whether they work for you work with you in a previous life, or whether they work with you doing another company. But they know what you're capable of, and they have already decided you're the person that we need. It's up to you not to walk in and say something crazy and mess it up.
That's important.
Yes, absolutely.
One of the things that is very challenging for women across all groups and backgrounds is being comfortable in telling our story, being comfortable in saying, this is who I am and this is what I bring to the table. And I know one of the things that you do particularly in your company, is to help individuals sit in their seat of genius, if you will, and to be able to translate all of that in a way that parlays into a key message to whether it's that interviewer, that prospective client, that stakeholder, that strategic partnership. Can you give us maybe one or two things individuals need to consider when it comes to being comfortable in telling your story?
Absolutely. So the first thing that I'll share is think about results and work backwards. So you want to think you can answer questions in terms of the STAR method, identify a situation or a problem that either yourself or you were a part of a team that you addressed, and then walk those individuals who are before you who are questioning, you walk them through the tasks that were associated in completing, moving towards that goal. And so situation, task, and then what were those actions that you actually had to do. We do, for my consulting company, we do a forensic work profile audit on all of the individuals who we work with. And we simply ask them a battery of questions such as, how many people have you managed? Then they answer. And the reason why we ask that is because it will be a difficult leap for you to manage 500 people in different locations when you've only managed 4 and you could reach out and touch the 4. So how many people have you managed? What type of reports were you using in terms of when you are managing those individuals? Were they multi-state? Were they international? Were they bilingual, multilingual? So what is the demographics of those individuals that you have managed, and where were they? The next thing that we look at in the work profile is, how much money have you managed? It will be a hard press for you to manage millions of dollars when you have never even managed tens of thousands of dollars. And so we do an audit of those individuals' work profile on how many people they've led, how much money they've led, how many vendors they've dealt with, what type of vendors they dealt with, what type of employees they've dealt with in terms of demographics. And then we ask them scenarios based on their work history of their successes. And then we listen to how they articulate their successes. And then we help them fine tune their successes by incorporating data points. Because again, we want to communicate results. So you want percentages, you want up, down, you need to know, how did things change? You know, how did you came up on the scene, and then how did things change? And so they need to be able to communicate using data points, those examples that we walk them through on. This is a good example to use for this type of question. So that forensic audit, and then work with them on storytelling and sprinkling it with technology, the programs you use, and the data points that were accomplished.
I like that you're calling it a forensic audit, because you're actually, digging through and reminding yourself. Sometimes when we go through the day to day, we forget all that we've accomplished, right? So I always encourage individuals, make sure you're carefully documenting or put things in a little folder. If you're, doing your performance reviews, boast on yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. And some of you may say, well, I'm an entrepreneur. Why would I have to do that? Well, if you want to prove your success to me as a client, if you want to prove yourself to me as your potential partner, strategic partnership, I want you to show and tell, right? Or show and prove, basically.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we all have to show our receipts, as I say, the younger people say nowadays. What are your receipts? Everyone, whether you're communicating your receipts verbally for a potential individual who's looking to hire your business, but we all have to show our receipts, because people use our receipts as an indication of what our future our future evidence will show. So you gotta be able to communicate or show your receipts.
Yes. I want to play devil's advocate. So let's say there's someone out there, and I'm certain there is, who's listening to you and saying, okay, well, Dr. Karen, really, I know how to manage a budget. A budget is a budget. I manage my business, and I'm a $1 million revenue generating business. Why do I have to show that I've done, multi millions of dollars if I'm trying to win a major government contract? Does it really matter if I can just prove that I'm a good money manager?
Yes, it matters. It matters that you are not only a good money manager, but that you're a good manager of anything of value, because most businesses scale, most businesses grow, and you don't have time to learn how to move with the growth as the growth is happening. They need to know that the skill set is there as you build on, as your business, as your accounts get more, as your budgets gets bigger, as you get more and more vendors. So this is not a learn as you go type thing. And so your past is an indication of your, at least what they have to work with in terms of their future, to help maybe you build onto skill sets. Maybe if you've only managed $1 million, and the company who may be interested in you, you'll be responsible for a $5 million budget. And that's a huge difference, 1 million with an additional 4 million. But maybe there are programs that can assist you. But even with the programs that can assist you, the information has to be put in the program, and then you have to interpret the information that comes out of the program. And so there is various skill sets that is needed to work with you, to assist you as your company and your revenue grows. And people don't want you to learn that along the way. They need to feel secure that you can handle it as it is happening. And so that is the reason why you need to articulate what you would do in situations where the money is more than what you're used to handling, or a client base is larger than what you're used to handling, or even the employee base. They need to know, your answers need to make sense. Because everything is of value is going to be in your hand if you're that particular leader. As a leader, you're running your own little business in your particular area.
I love the example that you gave about the budgets, because and you used the technology piece. So to that person who may be listening and thinking, do I really need to have all this? Well, that $1 million budget, you may be able to manage using QuickBooks or Excel spreadsheet. But when you start talking about multi-millions of dollars in budgets, now you're talking about complex financial management systems, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you need to know what to put in the programs so that you can interpret what is coming out of the reports. Otherwise, it's garbage in and foreign language out. It's not even garbage out. Is you won't even understand what it is. So with data points, you need to know what needs to be put in programs, what you should be tracking, what you should be monitoring. And all of that stuff is learned along the way through experience, so that as things increase, it's not overwhelming for you. You're just doing a little bit more of it. And maybe you may use a different program, but you are well versed in the previous level of the program, so you're not starting back to square A.
Exactly. I'd like to just pivot this a little bit, and I'd like you to talk specifically, since we're talking about technology and systems, to that entrepreneur, and how, if you have the right systems and technologies in place, it can create efficiencies, economies of scale, can definitely save you time and money. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think, especially the solopreneur,
Yes,
it's like, I think I can get away with not having A, B, and C. But again, as you mentioned, when you're trying to position yourself to scale, that's when those systems are so critical.
Absolutely. So if you have the right system, and I say the right system because a system is not necessarily the right system depending on your business. So you got to have a little bit of knowledge of what is the most current system that is being used in your industry and what are the pros and cons of using that system. But if you have the right system as a solopreneur, you can acknowledge, you can one, receive sales online. You can hear cha-ching in your sleep, and we all want to hear cha-ching in our sleep. You can acknowledge a sale. You can acknowledge someone who sent you an email 3 o'clock in the morning through automation. You also can create funnels. So when someone buys one product and maybe they're unaware of another complementary product that can assist them, then your system, you can set it up so that it automatically offer it and kind of inform them in case they're unaware of this complementary product that they may need and don't know that they need. So you can do funnel sales through the system. Um, I like the programs because it allow you to see where you are at any given day. So at any given day, you can go into your system and see where you are in terms of your inventory, see how much money you've spent, how much money you are anticipating spending for the quarter for outstanding bills and different things. And so programs not only help you do the work, but programs also are serve as the role of multiple employees in terms of acknowledgement, in terms of online sales. Because now, if you're online, if your business is online, then you're global and you don't even know it. You're really global. And a lot of people don't think about that. But what I mean by that is that if you have products and services that people can purchase online, that means that they can purchase it online at any given time from anywhere that they can access your online portal. And so you need to have thought out what is the sequence of communication that you want for this new customer. And all of that stuff is done through automation. And I love automation, even if I wasn't a solopreneur or if I was a big corporation, there are benefits to having automation to assist you in doing the work, but also assist you in running your business.
I totally agree. We're going to do a quick breakaway and we'll be right back with the amazing Dr. Karen Hills Pruden. We are back with Dr. Karen Hills Pruden, and we are talking about leveraging your professional equity. So whether you are on the corporate side, a dualpreneur doing both corporate and an entrepreneur, or if you're I don't want to say just, or if you are an entrepreneur or a solopreneur, this conversation is for you. And we're talking about the importance in having your right skill sets, building a reputation, and having solid relationships in order to expand and grow and make the impact, influence, and income that you are seeking to have in your life and in your business. Dr. Karen has shared an amazing story of how she said, you know what? I'm stepping out of this box. I'm going to be bold. I'm going to reach out to someone I don't even know, and I'm going to say, show me the way. And ladies, sometimes we got to get out of our way. It's okay to say, I need a hand up. It's okay to say, I don't know. And when we do that, we open ourselves up, I believe, to a wealth of opportunity. But when we stay in a box and we think I can try to do this all on my own because it's pride, it's ego, then guess what? You're going to stay in that little limited box that you've created. And you're designed for greatness, as like Les Brown says, greatness is in you, but you got to believe it. You got to tap into it. So I want to talk to you a little bit, Karen, about, and I know it has to be part of your curriculum, what you're teaching in your academy and with your clients. How does mindset play a part in all of this?
Oh, wow. So mindset is huge because if you can't even envision yourself being in the C-suite or being as a senior leader, I can almost guarantee you won't get there. You have to be able to see it and believe it, in order to even interpret things. The way that you interpret things that you see in life will be different when you believe it. But it all starts up here. For me, I felt I had what it took to be a senior leader, but I had sense enough to know that someone else probably could get me there quicker, because I didn't want to take maybe all of the years that it may have took someone else to learn what to do and what not to do. But I believed that I was senior leadership material. And so I'm a lifetime learner. And when you believe something, you will try to learn those things that that will help complement whatever your existing skill set is, to help you get you to whatever your goal is. But if you don't believe that you even belong there or can get there, then sometimes, and I've seen this with clients, you will do things to self-sabotage yourself. You will create these self-imposed barriers on yourself and don't even realize that that is what you're doing, because really deep down inside, you really do not believe, one, that you belong there, or that you can really actually get there. And so mindset is extremely, extremely important. And that is the first thing that we work on with our clients, is the mindset. They have to believe that they can achieve the position that they desire.
I love that. And sometimes people take the mindset thing pretty lightly. They feel that if I hope, if I pray, it'll just fall into my lap. But when you believe in something, you're actively engaged in bringing that vision into reality, right? You're pulling it down. And I love that that's your first step, because if you can't break through those limiting beliefs, that stinking thinking, as Nancy Matthews says, then everything you're trying to build upon is like sinking sand. You have no foundation to put to, I guess, superimpose all of this other rich information that you're sharing with these women, right?
Absolutely. And also, in addition to what you said, a person who believes that they deserve to be in senior leadership, which is my individuals, that's what their desire is, to be in senior leadership. When they hear no, they will find another way, and they will see another way, because they are looking for another way, because they believe they're supposed to be there. And so a lot of times when people in their mind do not really believe that they are senior leadership material, like sometimes we come across women who think that just because they're a woman and it's not they haven't seen a senior woman in their industry, that it's not going to happen. Even though they're talking like they want to be in the position, but you can tell by those little trail off sentences and statements that they make that they really don't believe it. And so they miss seeing the opportunity that is before them through certain situations, because they really deep down don't believe it. Whereas someone who really believes they should be there, they can see the opportunity there when some others can't, because in their head, they know they're going to get there. And so they're just figure out another way. And part of figuring out another way is seeing opportunity in situations where other people don't see the opportunity.
I love that. One of the things I'd like you to touch on is some of the biases that are out there, especially when it comes to women. And even though we've been in the workplace for generations now, again, our numbers in leadership positions are very, very small. What would you say to that woman who unfortunately has these unconscious biases that have been instilled in her simply because we are in a male dominated society, or we may be in industries that have been male dominated, and you're almost feeling a sense of intimidation or trepidation when it comes to showing up and standing up in your boldness, in your expertise?
So I would say that and I have this in a chapter in one of my books. I have a book called Pruden Principles, 10 Strategies to Propel Women to the C-Suite. And one of the chapters is that you're not one of the boys. A lot of times I see women who think that they need to act like the men that they see in senior leadership, and they're not their authentic self. And you don't have to impersonate someone else to be in leadership. What you need to do is be good at what it is that you're expected to do. Everybody wants to win. So make sure that you are an expert in your particular field, whatever that field is, and add value to, if you're working to an organization based on your area. But you don't have to imitate because you are in a predominantly male environment. And most times I've been the only female, and I've been the only African American. So they check two check marks with me. But I was always caring. I carried myself caring. I have seen some women who try to imitate the mannerisms, the male, how the biases that they have in their head as male mannerisms, and it simply don't work. But what you need to focus on is being good at whatever it is that you're expected to do and add value to the team, because again, everybody likes a winner. Are there certain biases against women? Absolutely, that we're softer, we're more relationship people, we aren't data people. It's a lot of different things. We're emotional, but we hit those biases in our personal life as well. So why expect the marketplace to be different? And so how do you address those biases in your personal life, that you're too emotional, you're da 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 da? Well, you have to determine whether or not you're too emotional. You may not be too emotional. But it may be at the wrong time. Some of these biases are other people biases, and don't take those biases onto yourself. I've never walked in, and I've had 3 senior leadership positions, because I'm not one that jumps companies a lot. 3 senior leadership positions, and I've never walked into a room and people were expecting to see who they saw for the very first time. I'll just say it like that. But what I did was, when I spoke, I added value, and I continue to add value, and any biases that they had eventually were dispelled.
I love that. And just to wrap it up in a bow, I hear you saying is, don't take on other people's biases. Don't let other people define you. You define yourself. You rise up in that. You own it, right? Because sometimes we find ourselves being bystanders or sidelined in our own lives, especially in our own professional development. And you got to own that, right? It requires accountability and ownership in order to seek the progress that you want.
Absolutely. And sometimes we need to take a look at how we look at ourselves. It may not be the biases of others. It may be a lack of confidence. It goes back to mindset. Again, a lot of times, a lack of confidence is masquerade as biases of others, when really it is you interpreting what you think you see in front of you, but it's based on your lack of confidence, not on anything they've said or done.
Wow. I cannot believe, Dr. Karen, we are almost out of time. I mean, I could just talk to you forever. I love what you're doing. I love this topic. And as you're having this conversation, I'm seeing so many splintered conversations that we could take. I mean, just the mindset alone, and realizing that sometimes where we are, we're displacing that, saying, well, it's because this other person's thoughts or beliefs, but it is seated in our own lack of self-confidence, wherever that came from. A lot is tied back into childhood and getting through all of that ash and trash. But wow, I mean, we definitely have to have you back on Raw Talk, to talk more. you're bringing so much value, especially to women of color. Uh, Again, this is Financial Literacy Month, and this topic, if you can really lean in and get your hands around what she's saying, and you're feeling stuck and you're sick and tired of what you feel are limited financial opportunities, whether it's in your business or your professional life, please reach out to Dr. Karen. She can give you proven success strategies that if you are wedded and committed to them, you can see a change in your life. I truly believe that. And right now, Dr. Karen, I'm going to allow you to share some more with our audience about what your programs have to offer. And I know you have an upcoming conference. I believe it's in October. So take it away.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So yes, I have a number of things coming up, but I want to, and I'll close with that. I do have a conference coming up among other things. I have a number of different methodologies that I work with female leaders. Female leaders are my ideal client. They are my avatar. And I generally work with female middle managers who are seeking senior leadership or entrepreneurship. And what I have found out, and I know it to be true, is those leadership competencies of leading multi-level people, leading high dollar budgets, and using technology and being able to run your business with the use of analytics are applicable leadership competencies, whether you are working for yourself or whether you are working in corporate America. And so as female leaders, if you are someone who is in middle management and you're unhappy, you feel stagnant, you don't know which way to go or what you should work on, you feel like you have more to give, then I would encourage you to reach out to my business, because we have a number of different products and ways to help you. We do confidential individual coaching. We do group coaching. We do in our group coaching right now, we're in the midst of doing a class of teaching people how to storytell. And by using your past work experiences, sprinkling it with analytics and technology, because you have to show that you use current programs in your specific industry, and you have to show that you know how to forecast, you know how to monitor, and you know how to predict using analytics. And so I encourage women not to be scared of data, not to be scared of technology. And there is help if that is your challenging area. And do a SWOT analysis on yourself, or have someone such as my company, Pruden Global Business Solutions, do a SWOT analysis. That's one of the things that we do. We determine what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, what your opportunities are, and what threatens your ability to move forward in whatever desired field that you have. We do have, under Sister Leaders umbrella, we have our annual conference that is coming up. It's October 27th and 28th. On the 27th is a global conference. The website is Sister Leaders Conference. And look, the Sister Leaders community is not just women. I know you say, what? Nope, it's not just women. The Sister Leaders community is a community of men and women who are committed to increasing the number of women in senior leadership. Because as long as it is the boys club upstairs, then we need those gentlemen to speak our name in those rooms that we don't have assets to yet. We need them to hire our businesses so that we can make presentations, so we can show the world that we're operating within our lane of brilliance. And so it is a joint commitment of men and women who are committed to making sure that women have not only acquisition of senior leadership, but they also have sustainability. So our goal is that women who acquire senior leadership, whether it's through their own entrepreneurship or whether it's through corporate America, sustain themselves for as long as they want to be sustained. And so that means that it's some work that you actually have to do. And so I encourage you to look me up on my website is Dr. Karen Hills with a S Pruden.com. The Sister Leaders Conference is coming up in October. And look, even if you're just an HR or a business professional who needs some help in sustaining within your role, maybe you don't want to be in senior leadership, we can help you with that as well. We have online classes through our academy. We have conferences, webinar, roundtables, and I have 30 books out there with my name on it. And so we reach women leaders where they are. And so I am so excited about this opportunity to talk to you, and I look forward to hearing from you in the future. I can't hear you.
You can't hear me because I was on mute.
Okay.
We are here with Dr. Karen Hills Pruden. Thank you so very much sharing your knowledge and some wisdom and strategies on how we can leverage our professional equity, whether we are in the workplace or the marketplace. But it's up to us, ladies, to seize the opportunity and believe, as she said, it's about mindset, believing that you can be there and seeing yourself there and then taking the steps to get there. And then I'm going to add one other thing. When you get there, remember those that are coming behind you, right? Give them a hand up.
Lift them up.
Lift them up. Yes, yes, yes. Well, thank you again, Dr. Karen, for joining us. And I am very serious when I say I'd love to have you back and explore a little bit more about your academy and, how we can just start, building some traction there. I think it's a great solution that you're offering women, especially those in the BIPOC community, biracial, indigenous, people of color community. We're looking for something that has our face on it. And I know that you work with all women, but I know you have a heart and a passion, like you said, women who look like you. And that's the thing, is when we see other women who look like ourselves succeeding, it gives us encouragement that, wait a minute, that is possible. And just think, ladies, today you are that inspiration to that young girl who's coming behind you. So just think about that. That's pretty powerful, that what you're doing today, just like Dr. Karen, when you impact one life, you change the next generation. You change the financial trajectory of that family. You empower that community. You influence the world. That's powerful.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you so very much again, Dr. Karen, and to our listening audience, thank you for joining us for another edition of Business and Financial Raw Talk. We will see you next Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern. And just remember that in life and in business, when your vision intersects with opportunity, success is inevitable. I'm Luana Bradford, here with Dr. Karen Hills Pruden, and I'll see you next week. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.